everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So when Unfinished Business came out in 2015, it was met with shoulder shrugs from the audience, it was met with bad reviews, and generally, was a huge flop at the box office and disappeared fairly quickly from our screens. But there was this persistent rumor that this was one of the worst comedies of all time. And when I watched this movie for the first time around 2016 or 2017 or something like that, I just thought it was pretty lame and it was a very ineffective comedy. But I had to rewatch it for the purpose of this review, and I actually think that the opinion I had back then and the opinion I have now is approximately the same thing, because this is a very, very bad comedy that lacks in mostly everything that makes a good comedy a good comedy. But one thing that I don't think anybody has actually spoken about regarding this movie is the motivation. There is this sequence when Vince Vaughn is talking to the people at the youth hostel, about what he's doing, and he's talking about that he's, selling and buying scrap metal and stuff like that. That's what, the company does. We'll get to that in a second. And they're asking him, that doesn't sound very fun. Why do you do it? And Vince Vaughn basically doesn't have a good explanation for that. He doesn't know why he's doing what he's doing. He has, quit his job and become his own boss. Shouldn't he found, something that, was his passion back then? Is, this job that he has, created for himself just a means to an end to, put food on the table, put his bullied son to another school and stuff like that? Is he just doing this for the money? The more I thought about it, the more that aspect actually annoyed me. Why didn't they have a story arc for him in which he, found something else to do that also would make him money, but also would make him happy? Because this job essentially doesn't make him happy. So he quit a job that didn't make him happy to start a business with people that still doesn't make him happy. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I think that is actually the biggest problem of this movie. But that is not the end of the problem that this movie has. We shall find out what those is, shall we? Because this is Unfinished Business, which sounds like something that Liam Neeson would say in a, direct to a streaming movie or something like that. You and I have unfinished business. I can't really do a good Liam Neeson impression. I'm just trying to entertain myself, because boy howdy, this movie certainly did not. Vince Vaughn is asked to take a pay cut, and he doesn't accept that, and he just quits and tries to start his own company. He only has, 2 people coming along with him. Tom Wilkinson and Mike, played by Dave Franco. We'll get to him in a second. Tom Wilkinson, has gotten the axe because he's too old, and Mike, well, he didn't really actually work there, but he wanted to work, so, Vince Vaughn takes him in. And 1 year later, they're still kind of struggling financially and hasn't really made a name for themselves in the market. But they actually might have a deal that will put them on the map in this field of work, I guess. And they have a handshake deal almost tied down. But then it turns out that they're going to have to go to Berlin in Germany to, chase down the people that they're going to do business with. So they go down to Berlin, and this is essentially, his last chance. If he blows this one, it's all over. They are in dire financial stress, and Vince Vaughn is really fighting for his, life here, essentially, at least, the working life thing. So they arrive in Germany and ends up in all kinds of weird cookie-wookie situations. Are they going to be able to secure this handshake? Because there might be competition, because Chuck, played by Sienna Miller, who by the way was, his old boss, is also there. Maybe, this company is just using Vince Vaughn and his cronies as a bargaining chip to, get the price down so they can, deal with Chuck, but for a cheaper rate instead. That's what they fear, so now they're gonna have to, work extra hard to get this thing going. Again, a job that doesn't really give Vince Vaughn any kind of satisfaction whatsoever, apparently. There is also this weird side plot with his daughter being miserable and his son being bullied, and they're having these Skype calls. I guess this was an attempt to give Vince Vaughn some kind of a, motivation or a character or something like that, or a personality. I don't know. It felt very tacked on. It felt like almost something that they did in post. Okay, let's get the worst thing over first, except for the whole motivation thing that, apparently Vince Vaughn doesn't really like what he's doing. Dave Franco's Mike Pancake is the bane of my existence. He is so annoying. He was so annoying that I wanted something horrible to happen to him. I hope that you die a horrible death in front of your family. I yelled a couple of times towards the screen, but of course he just went on with his shit-eating grin and that stupid smirk and that stupid voice and that completely brainless idiot that he was. I think that Mike Pancake might be the dumbest character I have ever seen in a movie. I think that Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder appears almost like Stephen Hawking compared to this complete numbskull. Ooh. And the fact that Vince Vaughn and Tom Wilkinson somehow has put up with this waste of flesh for over a year is beyond me. They gotta have, the patience of angels. Of angels almost. Jesus Christ. He was unbearable. Almost everything he said wanted me to strangle him. Every line he said was basically an insult to screenwriting, and I think that a screenwriter hung himself in shame every time he opened his mouth. Dan Trunkman is a classical, toned down, kind of funny Vince Vaughn creation. Nothing to write home about. He never fucks up anything too much, but he's just there, and I didn't care about his character or what he was doing or anything like that. Tom Wilkinson probably was the funniest one of the three, mostly because he's a 67-year-old man who wants to behave like a 17-year-old man. And that was kind of funny, but that shtick also got a little old from time to time. I actually think that Sienna Miller's passive-aggressive boss Chuck was actually the most entertaining thing in the entire movie, even though she has too little screen time to really make a difference. And I think Nick Frost was a complete waste of time in this movie. He tried his hardest, but he didn't have too much to work with. So, I don't know. So, the jokes. They don't work. Now, I don't know why they don't work, but it feels like they didn't fit. It is like putting on clothes that didn't quite fit you, like a shirt with, too long sleeves, or pants with too wide a waist, or, shoes that doesn't quite fit you, or stuff like that. It felt like they were trying to do something that in theory would have been good, but it ended up being a bit lame. And when we have done this for quite a while, only interrupted by Mike Pancake saying something incredibly stupid or doing something that annoyed me, it was just a bunch of jokes that I've seen in other movies done better. But it's not a rancid movie, it's just a bad movie filled with characters I didn't quite care that much about in a story that I didn't care that much about. It's perfectly okay shot, that it is perfectly okay acted for the most part, except for Dave Franco. Dave Franco's played a lot of, very entertaining, very fun characters throughout the years, but this is most certainly not one of them. So should you see this movie? Absolutely not. This is a bad, boring comedy that they try to shoehorn in a lot of, heart things, with, Vince Vaughn and his son and stuff like that, but it didn't work because it wasn't earned, and they didn't pay it off anyway in the end, so it was just, I don't know. But it wasn't as bad as people claimed it was, but it was very underwhelming, and I've seen so many better comedies, and I have seen actually so many worse comedies that I cannot quite give this such a bad rating that it probably deserves. It is simply just a little bit too professionally made for me to really rip into it, but Mike Pancake might be the most annoying character in 2015. Sweet Jesus. A lot of the situation and a lot of shenanigans and stuff like that that happens in this movie is on paper funny. And with a better delivery and better, jokes, it might actually could have been quite a good movie. It isn't. I give Unfinished Business 17 points. It's a bad movie with a bunch of very competent actors that usually are funnier and better than they are in this one. I don't know, something just didn't click with this one. So I'll see you next time for, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.